Oh, he is. Hey, how are you? There I am, yeah. Oh, no. Good afternoon, everybody. If you could find a chair and settle in, we'll get started. It's great to be with you here all today. It's so awesome that we could be in person for those of us who are here, and for those of us who are virtual. Glad we could do that too. It's nice to, if needed to be able to be hybrid. My name is Dave DeYoung. I work at the University of Pittsburgh. I'm Senior Vice Chancellor there, and it's also my honor to serve as the board of the Pauline Auberle Foundation, along with my fellow board chair, Bob Curry, chair of the Auberle board, and Bill Taylor, who is the chair of the Ward Home board, who I understand is with us virtually today. It's our pleasure to welcome you all here to our annual meeting of the board. This is a great time where we can gather partners and our staff and members of the public who are interested in coming together to hear all of the great work that Auberle is doing and to celebrate all that's going on. And we appreciate everyone who provides Auberle support and all the great things they're doing to help children and families and communities. As part of what we do today, we're going to hear a little bit about how they've managed to keep being so impactful through the constraints of COVID, and that'll be an informative video. But before we get to that part, it's my pleasure to start us off by introducing Bishop David Zubik, who's here with us today. David is the chair of our members, and Bishop Zubik, if you get us started off with prayer, we'd appreciate it. Thank you very much.
David, thanks for the warm introduction, and it's good to be with all of you today. So if we could all bow our heads as we ask for God's blessing on our afternoon together. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Amen. Dear God, you give us many signs of your saving presence. And so many of those signs are in this room today. Each and every one of us who is committed to the great work of Auberle, and the many ways in which those who are served by it walk away filled with a great deal of hope and promise for the future. So first of all, today we thank you for the many accomplishments of Auberle over the course of these past weeks and months. Help us to celebrate the accomplishments by having the energy to continue to support the efforts of Auberle more and more in the days, weeks, and months ahead. Bless our efforts here today. May we continue to be the visible sign of your saving presence for all those whom we need and serve at Auberle. And as we do what we do, may we give you praise and honor and glory, and continue to be a sign of hope and help to all those served by Auberle. Hear us now, help us always. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
The challenging impacts of COVID on our friends, families, and communities have forced us all to create a new normal. From the implementation of 9 new programs to the creativity our frontline staff displayed to best meet the needs of our clients, COVID has not deterred us from continuing to operate and serve our community with excellence. As a thought leader in the nonprofit space, Auberle is no stranger to innovation and creativity. Over the last year, Auberle's doors remained open, and staff continued to provide in-person services while also adapting services to have virtual options for the safety and comfort for all. The pandemic caused increased anxiety for most of us, whether it was added stress from schooling children from home or concern about the spread of COVID. People needed support, and Auberle staff demonstrated their steadfast commitment to our community by reimagining our essential services amid the pandemic. The behavioral health team managed to successfully transition their offerings to be Staff from behavioral health also work with our foster care team to facilitate virtual foster parent support groups to help foster parents work through the challenges associated with COVID. One of the incredible in-person programming accomplishments Auberle saw last year in behavioral health was the creation and launch of Maya. Maya is a mobile mental health program designed to support young adults aging out of foster care. With a focus on young adults with more severe mental health needs, Maya staff go directly out into the community to meet with clients. Even though many were working remotely from home, Auberle staff focused on the needs of our community and were so successful at doing so, Maya added a second team to keep up with demand for this programming. Our youth supported through foster care also saw increased needs throughout the pandemic. In Allegheny County, Auberle supports 25% of all foster care youth not placed in a home with a kid, and works with 50% of all teens placed in non-familial care. Taking in a foster child and providing a safe home is essential to their success, but can be a stressful experience even in the best of times. Now, adding in the complications of the pandemic, it would be easy to assume there was a struggle to find foster homes, when in fact the opposite is true. Last year, we had the most foster families enrolled at one time ever in our history. We did know that families needed support from Auberle staff even more than before and responded to that need. Knowing how critical stable foster care placements are to youth, our team established video chats for biological parents to read children bedtime stories in their foster homes. Also, with remote learning in full effect, most foster families were not equipped to be full-time teachers to their children. To help both the foster parents and foster children succeed, kits containing STEAM-related activities were created and hand-delivered directly to the foster family, as well as to children in the family emergency shelter to support remote learning. The STEAM kits were such a success that the Department of Human Services asked Auberle to provide similar kits to all foster children in the county. Despite the challenges facing the economy amid the pandemic, the Employment Institute served a record number of clients, with 92% of individuals in a career track position maintaining their employment for 6 months or more. This is a critical milestone that indicates long-term success in the workplace. Even with the impact of the pandemic and the shift we had to make in program offerings, we still saw remarkable success in Auberle's Strive program. Strive is designed to help young adults with a criminal justice record re-enter the workforce. This program has been and continues to be rated the highest performer in the country by the U.S. Department of Labor. To provide additional support to our community suffering from the intense economic impacts of COVID, a virtual library was also created by the Employment Institute to provide resources to potential participants and to enhance curriculum offered for current participants. Staff created assets to be used for virtual training, retraining, or enhancement of skill levels so that anyone interested in obtaining and maintaining employment had the option to do so, regardless of pandemic restrictions. Displaying their dedication to the youth we serve, staff at Auberle's 412 Youth Zone showed incredible drive in both their adaptation to in-person and virtual services. Our youth coaches traveled all across the county to safely provide in-person services with individuals to ensure all youth continue to have their essential needs met. However, young adults need more than just essential supports to make it through the pandemic. Our staff made it their mission to fill the youth holidays with joy and not only hand-delivered meals, but also hosted a virtual dinner so that everyone could gather, albeit remotely, so that no one had to be alone during the holidays. One might assume that due to the eviction moratorium, the need for housing services would decrease. But in fact, Auberle's housing team served 5 times the individuals this year as the previous year. Families and individuals were in desperate need of respite, and Auberle's housing team was there to provide that relief. Displaying their persistence to ensure needs were met during the pandemic, the housing team worked to successfully double the number of young people who moved into independent housing. Auberle's Ward Home also saw a record number of young people in need of support. With many locations closing, both Ward Home locations remained open 24/7 and provided much-needed housing and life skills programming to young adults who would have otherwise had little to no support. Even through a pandemic and all of the added stress our staff felt this past year, they still chose to vote Auberle as a top place to work for the 9th year in a row. As the COVID pandemic further emphasized the inequities facing our community's most marginalized groups, Auberle developed a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee to implement both internal agency, and external community supporting plan with goals to ensure we maintain an equitable and inclusive atmosphere and programming at Auberle. Despite the challenges COVID has presented, Auberle has remained dedicated to safely serving our community's most vulnerable individuals and families, which enabled us to reimagine how we understand our work and team to be essential this last year.
That's just a quick and interesting way to give you an idea of the things that Auberle's been up to in the last year with the time, talent, and treasure and skill sets of the people in this room and the people virtually that make a difference in Auberle. And while we're recognizing those people, for the people that are here in person and are enjoying all the food and hors d'oeuvres and everything, I want to take a moment and recognize our young people from the Employment Institute. Thank you. We really appreciate that. I also want to take a minute. I'm John Light, by the way, the CEO of Auberle Ward and Pauline Auberle Foundation. I want to take a moment and recognize one of our long-term board directors just passed away, Frank Noah. Frank served on the PAF board for 31 years, from 1977 to 2008. And Frank didn't just serve. When he started on the board, Auberle was still pretty much an orphanage for boys in McKeesport. He set the stage to transform what we do, which is still impacting what happens at Auberle today, with more than 24 services and sites all the way from Pittsburgh to Meadville in Crawford County. So we want to recognize the impact that Frank still has today in our services. I also want to take a moment and recognize our elected officials who really help make things happen for Auberle. State Representative Austin Davis is here. Austin has been a member of our board for several years prior to being in office. Senator Brewster's staff's represented by Allison Piccolino. Their offices are really, really impactful and helpful with us cutting through bureaucracy to really make things happen for the people we serve. And I particularly want to recognize Mike Sharepko, Mayor of McKeesport. Mike and a lot of his senior staff are here. McKeesport's been our host city for the 70 years of our existence. And as a mayor, you have to balance a lot of interests and develop a lot of things in your city. But I want to applaud, we're going to recognize some of our new facilities, and I want to applaud Mike's role in that. Again, to help us cut through bureaucracy and pull people together at the table to be able, in particular, to allow us to open a second site for families that find themselves in an emergency situation, homeless during COVID. And it allowed us to triple our capacity to serve families, now up to 60 people at a time. And once that facility opened, in the space of a couple of weeks, every single bed was taken, and there's still a need for that. So thank you, Mike, for making all that happen. I also want to thank all the donors, volunteers, and people who make Auberle what it is. You see some of us standing here talking, but you could see how many people are in this room and all the people that are online. It takes a lot of people to drive the reach and the success of our programs. You heard on the video that during COVID, Auberle operated 24/7, 365. We didn't just hunker down. We opened 9 new programs. We constantly responded to needs in the community that were clearly enhanced by the economic dislocation, the illness, the loss that people suffered during that time period. And that happens because of our frontline staff. During COVID, we could have at any given point 8, 10, 12 people out because they were exposed or they were ill. And people during that time period worked 4 or 5 different programs. across the agency. So I definitely want to take some time to recognize that our frontline staff, that passion, that mission commitment isn't just something that's a slogan on the wall behind me. It is really embedded in their heart, and that's what makes that kind of success really take place. And you'll hear a little bit more about that in this meeting when we talk about a few of our high-performing teams that we single out every year. One of the things we want to do is want to celebrate some renovations that we've been able to make that has allowed us to increase capacity. Normally, we would be at our facility, for example, behind us on our main campus. We have our new family emergency shelter in McKeesport. However, as I mentioned, every bed is full, so we don't want to interfere with the privacy of those that we serve. So we thought we could virtually show you some examples of the buildings and what we have going on there in that context. As I mentioned, now between McKeesport and Duquesne, we're able to serve 60 people at a time. We've enhanced our facilities so that it isn't just the shelter. You'll hear in a few minutes from one of our clients and some of our staff. We don't just shelter people. Our job is to move people to permanent housing. The people we serve in those programs are temporarily dealing with an emergency that has struck their family that causes them to be homeless. And whether it's getting employment services so people can get a job, helping people get health insurance, all the aspects that go to building strong families, which in turn build strong communities, is part of what we do in our housing programs. We also were able to renovate a new facility to serve our ward home female SIL, where we have a lot of young ladies that are aging out of foster care, several of whom at any given point have their baby with them, and to be able to wrap services around them to be successful going forward. We also have a male ward home, we call it a SIL, supervised independent living in Swissville, that also continued to operate to be successful. In addition to what we're doing in that context, we also were able to enhance things on our main campus and around our facilities, installing walking trails, upgrading our pond and amphitheater so that people have the opportunity during their time of need to be part of experiences that every family and every child is entitled to. As you see this happening and you see these essential services being reimagined during COVID, Auberle doesn't do that alone. We do that with partners. Our 412 Youth Zone in Pittsburgh has more than 80 partners. Our Employment Institute, you might have seen on the video, has more than 100 employer partners to make a difference in what we do and who we serve. So we really appreciate all the people who come together to make Auberle what it is. Each year, to recognize that, we pick a community partner to kind of hold up to the community and say, here's somebody who partners with us to make this happen. This year, our community partner is really very clear to us, and it's the Allegheny County Department of Human Services. What is really interesting about the Department of Human Services, COVID, as you know, is a disaster. And actually, when I say it's a disaster, FEMA and the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency are involved in trying to mitigate it. And when a disaster happens, people react to it. Governments react. Well, one of the reasons we're recognizing the Allegheny County Department of Human Services, they anticipated what was happening during the pandemic before it occurred. They pulled everybody together at the start of the pandemic 3 times a week. All their agencies would meet in a conference call. And we'd all be talking about what are we seeing, what's happening, how are things changing, how are we going to react to this, what pieces do we need to put in place now that when we need them, we're going to be able to support the people that we serve through both organizations. And it was really incredible being part of that. People candidly saying, hey, I don't have the answers. Let's try this. And sometimes this doesn't work. Let's stop doing that and try this. You don't have people there saying, we have all the answers, here's what we need you to do. One of the things Auberle does is we measure ourselves nationally. Attend a lot of national programs, we speak a lot. Tomorrow morning, I'll be doing a program virtually in Chicago with Loyola Chicago University and the Alliance for Strong Families. It's with their business school, and it's called the Executive Leadership Institute. As part of that meeting with their faculty, I was talking about what we were doing, and part of our discussion there is reimagining social service agencies in and after COVID. And I was talking about DHS, and I was talking about how they pulled everybody together, and people were firing questions away. Every time we speak nationally, and people here were from the Pittsburgh area, they ask you about DHS. I find that to be really interesting because I think locally, a lot of their work is unseen. And then when you go to a national stage, everybody's talking to you about the reputation of what DHS is doing in our region. So we're really honored to recognize them as our Community Partner of the Year. I'd invite Abby Horn, who is the head of the Office of Community Services that oversees, among many other things, the housing programs for the county, to come up and accept this award, which was drawn by our children in the family emergency shelter. And we'd like to recognize your team with that, and also to have you say a few words.
So much, John. First, I have to apologize that I'm not Erin Dalton. Erin wanted to be here today, but she's living the values of DHS and Auberle for that matter, in that she had a little family emergency and had to change her afternoon plans to go and deal with that. So I'm really, really quite honored to step into her shoes for the moment. And I'll turn to her talking points. So thank you so much, John and Auberle, for hosting this great event and honoring DHS with the Community Partner Award, which represents the hard work of so many of our partners to respond to the unprecedented challenges of the pandemic. Thank you to County Executive Fitzgerald for all of his support, which makes our work and accomplishments possible. And I want to recognize, of course, Bishop Subik, and thank you as well for joining us here today. On behalf of the DHS team, we appreciate Auberle's partnership so much during the pandemic response in many ways that you have stepped up over the years. The pandemic brought to light and exasperated so many of our community's needs, and we're also proud of the work that DHS and our providers and our staff did to provide technology that allowed families and clients to connect to necessary services remotely, and you touched on some of those in the video. We established a hotel to serve as a quarantine and isolation site. We also had a family-specific isolation step that Auberle worked with us to implement. So again, hats off to Auberle for really stepping up when the need was quite critical. We sort of were trying to figure things out as we were, all in the motions. We set up learning hubs throughout the entire county for children who were not able to access the internet and what in fact was school for over a year for many people through the learning hubs. And countless other ways that DHS and so many of our community partners assisted the county respond to the pandemic. John's comments about our I think they were actually daily initially, all of those provider calls, and I feel like the first week was just us figuring out how on earth we were going to get our hands on enough PPE and distribute it to every single provider and anyone who needed it across the county. And now that feels like ancient history, but it was a struggle initially, right? Just having masks and gloves and cleaning supplies and bleach. Who knew everyone needed, bleach and wipes? The federal recovery and relief funds aided our efforts, especially the county's coronavirus fiscal relief, CRF funds, from the CARES Act. And we just want to thank the county leadership for their investment in the work of all of our providers and THS to use those funds. And with the county's investment of the new American Rescue Plan state and local fiscal recovery funds, it's all long names, which we will continue to be able to make critical investments to respond and recover to the pandemic, to keep our clients safe. I was going to touch on sort of the broad scope of services that Auberle in fact offers, but I think the video that we all saw really much more eloquently than I touched on that incredible scope from behavioral health and child welfare and the housing, and drug and alcohol and youth. And those really span almost all of DHS's areas that we work. I think, I don't know, you have to tell me though, aging, you don't have anything yet on aging. So that might be our one area that we don't overlap. But because of that incredible scope and scale of Auberle's work, we really rely upon you as a thought partner as well. And so I really want to just say thank you to Auberle, one, for this amazing honor, but really for being our thought partner across the system and for always be willing to step up. Not least of all with the two, in fact, family emergency shelters. Initially in Duquesne, you really came to us when we knew that we needed to increase the supply of family emergency shelter beds. And then once again, with the new emergency shelter here in McKeesport, we particularly are excited to have it here in McKeesport as well, where we know, the need does exist. So again, thank you to Auberle and to all of you for being in attendance today, and we're so grateful for your partnership as the work continues.
Working with the homeless is my passion. Just being able to give back to my community as well, and just serving others. We actually address a lot of different services for the family. We work with the family as a whole. We work from getting them hygiene products that they need, clothing that they might need. We also work with like specific problems that might have been issues for them, like budgeting, trying to make sure that they're ready to actually go into housing. A typical day in shelter is never the same. One day it can be someone is having an okay day and able to get forms and applications done for housing, and some days it's not good days for our clients. So we understand that sometimes past traumas come into play, and it's a daily struggle. It's a daily struggle.
The preconception of folks usually that are homeless, or someone has to have a mental health issue, or they're addicted to drugs, or they did something bad and now they're homeless. That's generally not the case. Many different things can make you homeless. It's just not one thing. It's a story, it's a process, it's a trauma. It's not one thing.
And police kicked in my door and arrested my cousin. And they damaged a lot of stuff. And ended up getting evicted because of it. Auberle opened their door to me and my children. Me being a single parent, I had to let myself fall and bring it back up. And as I did that, I progressed a lot. It was a little stressful the first month. So I started pushing myself even more. I found a landlord that wanted to rent to me. We got everything fixed. I paid off the debt. This lease is awesome. Some people say she was strict, but she was good at what she did. She made sure that you don't forget that look for housing.
There's so much that's rewarding about my job. It's hard to pick. I would say maybe the kiddos, the smile of the kiddos. When they know that everything is safe and they're okay. once they come to shelter, there's a relief. And that's the best part of my job.
I think my favorite part of the job is just connecting with the family. We're preparing for a client to exit. So we're getting things that they might need to start off a new life in a new home. Because the last thing we want to see is them end up back in the homeless system. So we try to give them all the resources to be able to reach out to someone. Even if they have to come back to us, we also try to tell them, we're here for you. If you need anything, give us a call.
Yeah, Auberle did motivate me to step up, to push myself. They help a lot, but you gotta help yourself too. You gotta put your work in as they do as well. And I always thank Auberle opening their doors once again because they help me a lot. I'm stable. I'm relaxed in my own home now. If you needed something, they was there. I lost a lot, but I gained back 10 times better. So
What we do, it's hard. Because everybody has trauma. And when they come into shelter, it's like, okay, I'm safe now. But then all their trauma comes out. And you have to help those folks experiencing that trauma. Hopefully heal a little better so that they're not feeling that every day. And my staff is doing that every day. And we have the support of the whole Auberle agency. It's not just one person, it's a whole team. Without the team, we're no one. So we have to be able to function as a team. And we do that every day. Even the family is part of the team. There's always hope. If you have the passion, if you have the heart, if you don't want to give up hope, we will support you through your time of trauma and hopefully bring back your hope if you've lost it. We don't want you to lose your hope.
Wow. That's a great reminder of why we all work so hard to support Auberle and all the things they do. One of the ways to really support folks and make them feel safe and welcome is through facilities. And John talked a lot about the additional facilities that we brought online as we've expanded our programs. But I want to talk about an augmentation to our main facility here, which we're really excited to be bringing online, and that's a new playground for this campus. A playground is something easily to take for granted, but for the children we're supporting, having a playground, a place where they can be kids and just be themselves and have fun is something that we've wanted to do for a long time, and it's going to be an amazing addition to the campus. We're incredibly honored to be able to do this, thanks to the generous support of longtime supporters, Doctors Mike and Donna Tranovich, who provided all the funds, for the new playground that we'll be bringing online. This is in honor of their son, Matthew, who they lost tragically at age 24 a few years ago. Matthew was someone who shared their passion for helping others, helping children especially, and they wanted to establish this playground as a tribute to him. And when it's in place, it will be an amazing tribute. In the building of the playground, a building starts with a design, and that design was aided by a team of children at our family emergency shelter, and helping bring their vision to life through the completion of that design. And now as we pivot to construction, it's going to be amazing. And so Mike and Donna couldn't be here today. I trust that they're online, and Mike and Donna, on behalf of everybody here, I just want to thank you for your incredible generosity, and what a wonderful tribute to your son. So a round of applause. And now we're gonna bring up Darla Poole, our Chief Operating Officer. She's gonna highlight some of our high-performing staff teams. And congratulations to all the staff who are about to be highlighted. Thanks, Darla.
Okay. Nice to see everyone today. For some reason, I'm really emotional watching that family emergency shelter video earlier. I was getting choked. And I think just talking about how incredibly stressful the last year and a half. It's been really, really challenging, and I'm just so proud of everyone here at Auberle. Going to get it together. Okay, if we could start the PowerPoint, please. We have the honor of recognizing 5 teams tonight. And one of the things that we do every year that I think is unusual, not only for a nonprofit, but also maybe business settings, we set goals and objectives every year with every single team. And so they're measurable goals so we can see what's happening in every program. And we look at the accomplishments on those goals every year, every fiscal year, and we recognize the high-performing teams. All of our teams are very high-performing. One of the caveats is we can't recognize the same team twice in 2 years in a row. So many teams would be eligible for this award tonight, but we identified 5. So the first, of course, is the Family Emergency Shelter. Everyone who's part of the Family Emergency Shelter, can you stand up real quick and just turn around and wave at everybody? Thank you so much. Okay, so you saw the video, and I can't really add much to that, but just to give you a couple of statistics. The second location did take our capacity from 20 humans to 60 humans. 95% of those individuals had health insurance at the time when they exited us. And if any of you know, navigating a health insurance system is very, very challenging, and our staff do it really well getting families connected to the health insurance and healthcare that they need. And we have Lisa's done a fabulous job over the years of connecting with local community members, church groups, the Pennsylvania State Police support us with tangible items like doing Thanksgiving dinners and buying gifts for the residents and things like that. So just a really wonderful thing that happens in that program. And you can see all the names of all of the staff that are here. Of course, that's a 24-hour facility, so many people are working right now and they can't be here in an overnight shift. So we're just happy to have a couple of you here in the room. So thank you. Next, so rapid rehousing. Everyone who is here from the housing services, please stand up. Miss Bevan, I know you're here, our director of housing. And as you saw in the accomplishments video, we've served 5 times the number of people as in previous years. And we've got a lot of people connected to the program. We mobilized rapidly during the COVID pandemic, and the program just keeps expanding and growing and evolving. And I can share with you, we just got news today that we have received yet another contract from Allegheny County Department of Human Services to provide post-home services. So it's not a guarantee it goes to the HUD system and then we get approved and that kind of stuff. But we just are constantly looking at ways to provide services to Allegheny County residents in terms of homelessness. Out of the participants, 100% of the rapid rehousing individuals leave our program with health insurance benefits and coverages. So it's really, really important. Okay. Now, reception. We got one face up there. She better be here. Where is she? Is she here? Does she work at the desk? She's working at the desk. Okay. Small and mighty, but the unique thing that Lynette does, she's been with us forever, many, many years. She's done many different things here at the organization. But one of the critical things she does is in our Employment Institute, we have customer service training, we do other kinds of training things. So she routinely mentors our young people, or not necessarily even young people, just any person in the Employment Institute to get those customer service skills. And just really, she does a fabulous job. So here's the statistic, which I think I would, be very frustrated at times. The front desk fielded 31,000 calls. It earned a 97.5% customer satisfaction survey by our guests. So we measure everything, we survey people whenever we can. So out of those 31,000 calls, 98% generally were very happy with the service they received. Internally, by staff, we were 96% happy. So I don't know who those 4% are, but 96% of us are very happy with Lynette and her workers. And as I mentioned, she routinely mentors young people or any person in the Employment Institute that wants to get those skills. Okay, so clap for Lynette. Here's another wonderful program. You guys heard about the Employment Institute in the video. And there's all of these staff names. If you guys could stand up. And the Employment Institute is another area that just keeps evolving and rolling out initiatives and programs and gets accolades for so many different things. The Employment Institute was recognized again, in the video, by for the STRIVE program by the U.S. Department of Labor, and which is just amazing. The Employment Institute has 170 employer partners and 132 community referral partners. That's a lot of people. Despite COVID, 69 of our youth had their first work experience in our summer Learn and Earn. So we didn't shut down our summer programming. We did it safely, we did it the right way, and we had 69 young people get that positive experience. Another big event, we had the Westmoreland County Community Foundation Partnership is collaborating with us to serve people in New Kensington, Jeanette, and Menneson. So there's some new service areas that we're very excited about. Thanks. Where's Mia? I see Mia. Hi, stand up. And is Terry here and Regina? There we go. You guys get the award for 100% team presence at the meeting. 3 people in the program, and they're all 3 here. And the My Best Self program is one of my favorite programs in the organization, just because of how unique it is, and it really fills a gap that's so can be so traumatizing to young people in the system. So it works with child welfare, children to young adults in the system to work on their hygiene, self-care, self-esteem. And there's 3 components to it where they're educating, doing workshops live. They were virtually provided during the pandemic. They went out and delivered hygiene products and just self-care products to all the people, the individuals during the pandemic. And then the third, services is the second area where they actually arrange services as needed in the community of the young person so that they can get their needs met there. And then they coordinate all kinds of fun social connection opportunities. So it's, and then they get positive social experiences. So the motto is to look good and feel good and be your best self. So Mia took over the program a little over a year ago, I think, and in that time, she doubled the number of services provided to young people. They doubled the number of workshops that were provided to the young people. They doubled the number of self-care hygiene bags that were provided to young people. So the strong and mighty team did tons of work in that year. So we're really, really proud of them. Some other things that Mia has done is connected the program to external resources to get clothing and other donated items to the young people, anything that they need to look good and feel good. Helps with prom dresses, things like that. So we're very happy with the My Best Self program. As I said, all you other staff in the room, you all do fantastic work. Every team could be up here being recognized, but we have to narrow it down every year. So thank you.
Thanks, Dar.
Yep.
Just an example of the kind of work and creativity that people put in every day. Gives us great pleasure to call up the chair of our members, Bishop Zubik, whose leadership and oversight and commitment to Auberle certainly is on display today, being here, but throughout COVID and throughout all these challenges and changes has been absolutely solid and consistent, and we really appreciate that. And I would invite you up to say a few words.
Dawn. Thanks for the introduction. I think that if I share with you that I've been watching all of these reports that have been shared with all of us today, you could certainly well understand the reason why I've been thinking about my boss, Pope Francis. Because, not only is he the pastor of the Catholic Church, he's made a great impact on the world community. And like that commercial that we used to hear several years ago, when E.F. Hutton speaks, everybody listens. When the Pope speaks, people do listen. And they listen because what he speaks to is, in fact, the human heart. So I couldn't help but imagine that if Pope Francis were sitting here today, the buttons on his white garment would be busting out of pride. When you think about the things that not only we heard, but what we have experienced through Auberle over the course of these last months that we've been dealing with the whole COVID situation. The fact that more than 4,200 people have had services provided by Auberle. The fact that there are 9 new services that have been provided. The fact that there's a second emergency shelter that's been established. The fact that so many people could say that for the entire time of COVID, the work of Auberle has not only continued, but it's actually increased. And I'm reminded to think one of the most poignant stories that I heard Pope Francis speak to was when, shortly after he was elected Pope on March 13th of 2013. And he talked about an experience that I think all of us are familiar with. That, if we happen to be passing someone who has a tin can on a sidewalk, for example, in the city of Pittsburgh, and the Pope said that, if in passing that person, we happen to dig into our wallets or our purses and place something in the can, Pope Francis basically said, don't be proud of yourself because you've done next to nothing. What is so important is that when you try to make a difference in somebody's lives, did you in fact look into their eyes and into their hearts? And I think the backdrop for everything that we have heard today about what Auberle continues to do is strengthened by the reality of what you and I know. That with all the programs that Auberle is involved in, by the actions of all the wonderful staff, beginning with John and everybody else who's part of this wonderful effort, what you do is to really look into the eyes and to the hearts of people who need to have the self-respect of knowing how much they're loved, how much they're cared for, and how their lives can be different because of the impact of all that's done here. So I need to say that I'm thoroughly honored and humbled to be a part of what Auberle has to do. And I'm so encouraged that what we do together, not simply as the church, but together with the political community, with the business community, with leaders all over the place, but more importantly by people like yourself who are here today to not only hear a good progress report about what's happening, but that our hearts likewise can be moved because we really, through Auberle, are touching the hearts of those who are served. So God bless you all. Thank you very much for allowing me to be part of this great effort.
We're also honored today as we talk about what we've done over the year and, the renovation of these facilities with the deep, generous support and planning of Allegheny County to make this happen. You heard me talk about Allegheny County's Department of Human Service, and Abby talked about the county leadership. And for Rich Fitzgerald, our county executive, to take time from his schedule to come down here today to talk to us. We really appreciate that, Rich, and appreciate all of the support and guidance and thought leadership that has helped shape the services that you've heard about and that you've watched on the 2 videos. So I would invite Rich up to say a few words to us.
Well, first of all, I want to thank all of you for the work that you continue to do. The work that you have done pre-March of 2020, which was challenging enough in dealing with the challenges that happened in the community that you're you're serving and all the folks that were here. You heard from our Human Service Department. I couldn't be prouder of them and the work that they have done, because in addition, again, to the tough job that you all do and that they do, then comes a pandemic. And then, again, all of us have been challenged, but we know some people get challenged even more with what came about. Pre-vaccinations, pre-knowledge of, this dreaded disease. It has taken over 750,000 of our fellow Americans, over 30,000 of our fellow Pennsylvanians, and over 2,000 of our fellow Allegheny County residents, in addition to all the impact of the economy and school and everything that happened. But you came to work every day and you served people that needed services. And not only did you continue to do the services that you did, but you expanded them, adding 9 new services, adding more services to help people that are in need. We can't thank you enough for the work that you do. And John and your team, it's just been tremendous. We've got a great partnership with the bishop and what they do at Catholic Charities, and what the bishop and his leadership has done throughout the community. As they say, it takes a village. It takes a team. It takes all of us working together. It takes our friends at the state, Representative Davis and Senator Bruce, for bringing the resources that happen. Our federal officials, Congressman Doyle, I couldn't thank him enough for getting that CARES money last year passed and the ARP money this year passed to keep the funding flowing to provide the services for people who need it the most. Mayor Shrepko, thanks for your leadership here as well in McKeesport and all the things that you continue to do. We're very fortunate in this community. We really are. To just take one step back, and I know you may have read about this, but this is the second pandemic in a century. We had a pandemic back in 1918. Mayor Shrepko was only in his first term at that time. But back in 1918, Pittsburgh, the world was a different place, but Pittsburgh was certainly a different place. And we wanted to keep the factories open. And we weren't listening to our health department directors and our medical experts. So we kept everything open. And you know what the price that we paid? We had more people die in Pittsburgh than in any place in America. We learned a lesson. And this time around, we listened to our medical experts, our health experts, people from Human Services, the health department. And we've done a lot better. Obviously not perfect. So many people have been impacted, but we've learned a few things. But it's only through the level of cooperation and the level of work that our partners do that we're very fortunate that, again, hopefully we're getting to the end of this, or at least on the other side of it in a more normal way. But I just can't thank Auberle enough. Congratulations on the dedication, on what you're doing, and please keep up the good work. We all need you to do what you continue to do, and you make this place a better place for all of us as a community. Thanks.
Going last has both advantages and disadvantages, and one of the disadvantages is you guys stole my thunder. So I'm going to rip up my notes and just kind of talk from the heart here. I'm Bob Corey. I'm the board chair for Auberle, and on behalf of all of our fellow board directors, I just want to thank all of you. The first word that comes to mind to me is wow, right? Think back, so Frank Mellock was here until 2008, I believe. Think of what the legacy that he left and how different things are today. This is no longer a place for, I think it was German Catholic boys as it started way back then, and how we've changed so much with what we have on campus versus what we have in all of Western Pennsylvania. It wasn't that long ago where we didn't know what Zoom was. We didn't know what Microsoft Teams or Google was. We didn't even know that we had cameras on our laptops in a lot of cases. And think about what we had to accomplish doing the things that you did, right? Things that we did. There are the use of the word heroes. You see it all over the place, and for sure, those of you who work here day in, day out, we're here. You didn't have the luxury of being closed as a restaurant or closed as PNC Park. You had to be here, and you showed up. So thank you, all of you, for your service to the community that really needed you at the time and still does. So thank you, first of all. Those of you secondly, the coordination we have with our leadership, whether it's the city, the state, the county, the diocese. Thank you all for what you do, because if it weren't for you, we wouldn't be able to do the things we do. We talk with John and Darla and Rodney on a regular basis, and every time I hang up, I'm like, oh my goodness, what's next? How do we keep doing the things we're doing and add on the things that we have been doing? It's been a tremendous year and a half, I guess, and soon to be. Hopefully, we just keep moving. Like, we forgot what it was like pre-pandemic, right? And again, I want to just thank Bishop Zubik, Rich Fitzgerald, Austin Davis, the Abby and Aaron. Thank you all for your leadership. We really need that and strive to continue that and thrive with what you're doing. So again, thank you very much. Wow, keep it up. We really appreciate everything you're doing.
So as we draw this program to a close, but we still have, for those of us fortunate here in person, we still have a lot of hors d'oeuvres and food and everything. So take advantage of that. Really want to express my appreciation to our leaders for coming, for you for supporting our mission. And I think I want to capture everybody up here on the front line for a photo afterwards, like in lieu of we'll project the FBS in on a virtual behind us, because we do want to respect the privacy of the people that we serve. But I do think it would be most appropriate for our mission and our identity if we ask Bishop Zubik to close this formal part of the meeting in prayer. Please, Bishop.
So I'll simply ask that God bless us all in our efforts. May the Lord so continue to fire up your souls that many other people may come to know God better through you. The Almighty God bless you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Grab those.